Welcome, everybody. My name is Dan. I help out with marketing and many different things with this amazing company known as Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff. Over here is Dr. Nick himself. Nick, as I always ask, how are you doing?
And as I always say, I'm doing fantastic. Doing great. I got some peppermint bark in today. Beard's feeling good. It smells good. I got my Christmas sweatshirt on.
Yeah.
I'm like ready to rock here today.
So I have in Yule Tree, which when these seasonals were announced, we have peppermint bark and Yule Tree. I'm a peppermint guy through and through. That's my number one. I love peppermint bark to eat. I love the smell of it. And I really, really enjoy the oil. I just cannot put down Yule Tree. There is a freakish addiction that I have with it, and it's just so perfect right now. Just so perfect. So
Dude, it's so good. I've been wearing it. I wore it all weekend and literally felt like I was in a Christmas tree farm every morning. Dude, the smell that comes off of that under a heated brush too, like when you get an Abrolite into that Yule Tree, woo!
It's so good. It's so dang good.
Come on now.
As you guys welcome in, please consider hitting that thumbs up to show YouTube that you like this small budding YouTube channel that we are building here as a part of our community and as a part of our lifestyle brand. We have so many exciting things, guys, and we almost said that we pretty much want to apologize because we come in and we had like an hour plus meeting before this, and we always are talking. We talk forever after as well, and we just get amped. We just get so excited about the future, so excited about things that we're doing and working on and bringing you guys, and we're like, they just step into us in like middle of this hype session.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I was like, I almost feel bad for everyone joining today. Like you and I are like already on a roll, all pumped up. We gotta bring everyone up with us, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. And hey, man, it's my man Ryan here. Ryan, we saw that, dude.
Yeah, I saw that.
Whoa, first order. He said may or may not order a few. Yeah, Ryan, it's unbelievably addicting. Like I cannot stress that enough, how addicting the Yule Tree is. And even Mark says right here, he said Yule Tree is awesome. And this was not even about that, guys. I just love it. I just love it so much.
And for Ryan, you know what's funny about that, Ryan, is this enough to last until next year? You know, hey, refrigerate it, man. Like, yeah. You know what's funny is that we were contemplating whether or not we were going to let it run out before Christmas or not. Right. We were getting kind of low on stock, and we're like, all right, do we make another batch? It's going to be available after Christmas a little bit. Do we just let it run out? And then Ryan hits us with a huge order, and we're like, well, we can't just have it go to zero without saying anything to anybody. And he just killed it. So, all right, make more it is. So everyone can thank Ryan. If everyone wanted to see Yule Tree around longer, you can thank Ryan because he depleted us, and we couldn't make a sudden announcement of being out of it. So thanks to Ryan, there's plenty more.
And don't sleep on the subtle little art and label changes that I really appreciate. I really do, man. It's awesome.
Those were fun. You know, as a brand who sticks to a pretty rigid set of style guidelines, especially for our beard oil, right? I mean, it's the number and the scent profile changes. But getting to do that was awesome, right? Because we got to play with the logos a little bit and throw in some more art and do some other stuff to it. It was great. I think for all of our holiday releases, we'll find a way to do that. Now I want to do one for Halloween or something next year, so we can like some jack-o'-lanterns into it somewhere.
And that's your guys' holiday, so it just makes
sense. That's it, man.
Jill would have so much fun with that. And Kevin, we'll be here, man. We never, ever want people to feel the FOMO pressure, the fear of missing out. Like, we don't want that to happen. And in something that we're probably going to have a dedicated stream about in the future is there's a lot of like policies and a lot of things that have to be in writing on the site because of many like extreme situations. But if you guys ever need anything, if you ever are thinking something, reach out, whether it's to the customer service email or whether it's to Instagram. These are real humans behind this company. It's real people with real feelings, with real empathy, with understanding, with passion. This is not some big corporate conglomerate that has these strict, rigid rules that we have to follow. Reach out, guys. Absolutely, Kevin. Let's say you're not able to, and the first of the year you set that, and then you're like, man, I really wanted that. Who knows? Maybe there is one that's set aside. You never know what real people and what real empathy can bring you. So reach out. Don't ever hesitate, you guys.
Oh yeah, just like people who really liked the IPA, we were able to squirrel out a couple more bottles of that. For people who really wanted it, never even made it on the site. All happened through email. It was like, hey, I really like it. It's gone, and we found a way to get a couple more squeezed out, and we sent them out. There's people who liked our old Guar stuff we did with the band. With Guar back in the day, and they loved the label art. And they're like, I know it's not a product anymore, but I really like, for my scrapbook collection for bands, I wanted to put some of your label art in there. And we're like, you know what? We might have some of those labels kicking around. So what'd we do? We went and found someone, cut off a big strip off the roll from labels we had left over, and we sent them out a whole variety pack of our old label art from all the old Guar stickers and all that stuff. So, we're always willing to do stuff that's, just because it's not on the site, just, reach out. Like Dan says, we're real people here, simple solutions to complex problems. That's what we're all about here at Dr. Nick's.
Yep, that is so true. And we're going to do more and more with being able to articulate that and get that image out to you guys. Most of you that are in here have watched these. We see some people that are catching it for the first time, but have been watching and commenting on all the replays. Man, that's so valuable and so appreciated by us. Who was it? I think it was Corey who said that he just made it in for the first time. Man, keep these comments coming, you guys. This has been building up with numbers, but also comments, right? I'll open up the Dr. Nick's YouTube, and it's like there were 7 comments yesterday. There were 12 comments the day before. Like, that's so cool. It's so
that's
cool.
Huge.
And we share them amongst ourselves. Like, you'll send it to Nick, and then Nick will send it to Jill. Then they'll send stuff to me. It is an awesome thing. So guys, know that we appreciate it. We see it, and we hope that you guys continue to give that feedback, continue to have these interactions. It's what makes this different with anything that Nick has ever done. And it couldn't be more exciting.
I love the people throttling their orders because of the counter space they're taking up, and their wives
Right.
complaining on it. We actually, what's funny is we had a wife of one of our customers reach out and wanted to make a request for one of the display bases and had some questions. And she's like, what better way to help my husband take up even more bathroom counter space in our bathroom than to give him an official place to put your products? She's
no sarcasm.
No, not at all.
I love it. And hopefully
so
you guys have noticed with these streams, we try to switch up the flow. We try to have different things. If you guys were in last week, we went down to the lab and you saw the machinery. You saw how the products are made. The week before was more discussion based. Today's discussion based. We've had random giveaways. We've gone down to the wood shop. We try to keep everything just kind of unique and fresh, but above all, transparent. And today's going to be one of those more like discussion things. And we hope that you see the value in that, of pulling the curtains back, getting to know the mindset of this company and the people behind it. And we also hope that it can be relatable, inspirational, motivational to just transferable ways in your life, right? This isn't anything we talk about is not exclusive to a beard product company. It can fit so many different businesses, so many different aspects of your life individually. And we're just sharing our thoughts, and we highly encourage you guys to get involved. And if something comes to mind, if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you want to piggyback on something, let's drive this discussion with you guys being involved in this chat as well.
Oh yeah. 1000%. And like, this is one of those ones today I'm super excited about, because it gets to tell a little bit probably about some of the story and the experience behind, what has, really gone on to form Dr. Nick's and other ventures. But really, this is one of those ones where I think the best way to learn about something is obviously to talk to someone who's done it. And, a great way to, learning from other people's mistakes is a piece of advice that I probably could have taken much more heed to early in life. But I think, the purpose of today's session really is, the stream is to be motivational, right? There's a lot of people out there at different facets of their career or their life or whatever else. And I feel like there's a common theme out there of what you should do to drive yourself to go do something. And, there's a lot of material that you can go read about, ways that you can pursue something that you've been wanting to do, or ways that you can manifest something into existence that doesn't exist yet out of your head, but there's not a whole lot of material out there about the sort of the bad side of that, right? About the opposition that you'll face trying to do some of those things, and just some of the struggles that you're naturally going to face. And what I think is that when you read all this stuff about how you need to go do this and this and this in order to make these things in your life happen, or to make a business venture happen, or to take this next step in your career, and then you go out and you put that stuff to work, and then you're met with these challenges that no one ever told you you're going to get met with, that can be really discouraging, where you can say like, oh, well, I went and I did the right things. No one ever said I was going to have these problems, and here I am having them. This must not be a good idea. Maybe this isn't going to work, or whatever else it is. So we wanted to talk today just about some of that, some of the challenges in doing something unique, the difference between doing something that's already been done versus doing something that hasn't been done, and some of the challenges that are involved in it. But we're also going to talk about the rewards, and we're going to talk about some of the ways to fight through it, and the ways to sort of manage that from both a mental perspective and maybe just through your actions, how to maybe improve some of these outcomes. And then just sort of talk about the likely next steps someone might take if they're trying to pursue something unique. We're doing something here that's different. And I think on top of just talking about what it is that we're doing, we should talk about what goes in to doing something different.
For sure. And we're going to break down all those details. And like I said, it's going to be a discussion. It's going to be motivational. But before we get into all that seriousness, we do want to have just a little bit of some different vibes real quick. My man, OG Fitzroy, says, I can't stop looking at Nick's beard. That mustache just pops.
Thank you, sir.
Here's the story that's going to sound very weird at first. I thought of Nick today specifically while I was in my boxers. Yes, just me in my boxers. And I was thinking of Nick.
Well, now.
Yes. And I was thinking of his mustache specifically because I get ready in the bathroom with just my boxers until I do like the oil and the combing and the blow drying. And then my mustache was popping out on me, right? I got it here. Looks good. But I had the long guys down here that were really separating really separating themselves from my mustache. And I had the urge to trim them. And I was like, but I love Nick's mustache and how it just does that waterfall down. And then I'm going back and forth. I'm like, do I go for it like Nick? Do I not? And then I literally stopped and I'm like, I'm thinking about this man's mustache while I'm in my boxers in the bathroom. But I took out the scissors.
My work here is complete.
But I took out the scissors and I did trim the mustache. So I gave in and trimmed the mustache. So
you don't know how many times I've done that, man. Like, the only thing, just in case anyone out there is wondering, like, this does not do this on its own. It does not. This is Abrolite. This is Balm Stick. Like, this is a few things to make that do what it's doing. And to have anybody say that they're looking at a video of me in front of them and they have anything nice to say. So, like, thank you. First of all, I look at myself in the camera and I'm like, oh, who's that guy? But so. This is the Abrolite. Like, this starts off in the morning and it is here.
Yep.
It is over the mouth. There's no way to eat, and someone else said, I think on one of our previous, I don't know if it was one of your streams or one of these, someone made the comment of like, oh, Abrolites are great. I can finally eat again.
Yeah.
There is the awkward stage where no amount of balm, wax, heat, nothing will save you. Right. And until you kind of get these guys to get over here and you can kind of curve them, that's what really does it. And so in the morning with mine, I'm like sitting here with an Abrolite and I'm pulling to the side and then I'm pulling down with the Abrolite, so I'm heating it. I get the oil in there first. Obviously I have a little bit of balm in because I like what the balm does when you heat it and then it cools. I'll pull it over and then I form it. So, a couple of people have asked about that. Like, does it just do that? How'd you train it? No. I mean, I train it every day, but every morning it wakes up forgetting everything that I taught it with a mind of its own, completely trying to go in my mouth. And so, yeah, thank you for that. And I'm glad it looks well behaved.
And we got my man Mo in here, the bearded shark, and he said we got a long chain going now. He said, I've thought of Dan before while I was shirtless. He does spend a lot of time shirtless, so I do not doubt that one bit. And what I was building up to here, guys, Nick, grand reveal. Corey has teased us, and he says, I love the Christmas sweater. Corey,
it gets better.
You don't even realize how much you love this Christmas sweater. Prepare yourselves, you guys, and this is where it gets amazing. Oh yeah, yes. That let me go ahead and magnify this. I don't deserve to be on with this one here.
Let me get the full effect here. Hold on, let's push the chair back. we'll get the full room effect.
Yes. This is a Mike Tyson Christmas sweater.
Unfortunately, Mike's, hidden.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to come out with the beard tucked into the sweatshirt, making everyone think I shaved.
Yes. And and you're right. You have to read it in the proper way.
You have to. You have to read it Merry Christmas. You can't read it any other way.
There's no other way. There's, oh man, so many legendary good and bad interviews by him and press conference bites, but that might be the best Christmas sweater I've ever seen.
I mean, it's a winner. I mean, I definitely think it's a winner. It's not lit, there's no batteries in it, but I think for, it is cheating. It is a sweatshirt, not a sweater. So I'm not sitting here sweating profusely and itching my ass off, but
there you go.
Hey, I'm comfortable. And, me and Mike, I think, we're vibing. We're vibing here.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's reminding me from down here that everyone has got a good plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, I've seen there's so many cool Christmas lights and the Christmas ornaments, man. I love it. Have some fun. I encourage everybody to lighten up. Like some people would say, even the discussion that we just had, be like, oh, that's straight. Like, hey guys, don't take yourself too serious. Life is way too good to be worried about those things. Have some fun.
Dude, that's it, man. Throw a Viking helmet on for no reason once in a while. You
earned it.
Why not?
Yeah, you earned it.
You really did.
Enough of the silly shenanigans, guys. Let's go ahead and talk here. And Nick, I'll kick it to you to begin. And we're going to start straight up on the topic of the stream, and that is innovation is lonely. I want you to tell what do you mean by that, and then we'll give some specific examples like movies and loans, and we'll get into that. But innovation is lonely. What's that mean?
Innovation is lonely. So on top of being a potential future title for a podcast that I think, Dan and I could be hosting someday, or potentially a book. We've talked to a lot of people about this, and in coaching sessions on the corporate side, personal side of things, when I've done coaching over the years, everyone's always said when talking about this topic, like, you got to get this out there. You got to put this in a book. And quite frankly, I just haven't had the linear thought track to get me there yet, but I imagine that could happen someday. And, there's two overlying tones, and we'll kind of talk about them both. But the first one is innovation is lonely. That's something that really stands out in my head. And the other, that was a great fun title, was Misery Loves Companies. And we'll go over what I mean by both of those, but really the innovation is lonely piece. Let's think about that for a minute, right? The American dream that we're all sold when we grow up and we're young adults going out into the world and pursuing employment or careers for the first time. The American dream that you get sold is, right, you work hard, you do your best, you're in a place that fosters success and encourages innovation, and go out and do it, and the rewards will be yours, right? And really what's interesting is you go out there, and if you go out there and you do something that someone's done before, you get these open arms, right? Say you wanted to go open a liquor store or a sub shop. Open up a map of where we are here. Open up a map of South Shore, Massachusetts, and type in sub shop, and you will see the whole map will turn red with pins. It's literally every corner on every block in every town, everywhere in Massachusetts, there's a sub shop. And they all got the same menu. They all have the exact same menu. They probably get printed at the same place, right? In like you go to Cisco Food Supply and you're like, hey, I'm opening a sub shop. And they're like, all right, well, here's your menu. And here's like your run list of all the things you got to order, and just let us know what you want. You go to the bank lady's all happy, right? The loan officer is like, oh yeah, sub shop sounds good. Like, let's get you going. How much do you need? Do you have a space yet? We have people to help. Now, change that back, and let's just imagine your dream wasn't a liquor store. It wasn't a sub shop or a pizza shop. It was something that's never been done before, or maybe hasn't been done the way that you're doing it, right? Maybe you say, hey, there's all these successful people out there that are marked as innovators and inventors, and they've changed the landscape of their industry, or they've disrupted an industry, right? And that term disruption gets used a lot. So go into that same bank with an idea of doing something differently, or doing something that Hasn't even been done yet at all before. And they will very politely laugh you out of that building. I can think back to this exact situation in the technology world for a company that I was trying to start up years and years ago. And it was doing something really cool with cloud networking. And it was a great idea. And I had some people on board with me. And we went forward and went in front of a number of investors. And we took this idea, which was a great idea, which, by the way, now another large company is now doing exactly what I was trying to do, except they did it with their own money and they did it with their own billions of dollars. And they weren't trying to convince other people for their millions of dollars to do it. And so the first thing that I would get told in a meeting, the first thing that I had this idea that was literally going to change the face of cloud connectivity for businesses for their compute operations and data centers. And what I got told was, what's stopping someone else from doing this? Or why isn't someone else doing this already? And you take that theme and you go across a number of really successful, great technology investment firms. And the number one question was, what's stopping someone else from doing this? And of course, if you look at the investment standpoint, what they're worried about here is market share, right? They're worried about, if you start doing something new, you need to have the velocity into the market to be able to consume all of that business, a big chunk of it, so you can get market share before someone else comes out and tries to, ride on your coattails and do it as well. So it's a logical thought track. But the point of this stream, the point of this discussion, and the reason I wanted to talk about it was, what happened to the days where it was okay to be inventive? What happens to the days where it was okay to foster innovation and encourage it? Out in the market today, people seem to be, they are more concerned with why isn't someone else doing this? And if they're not, it must not be good. It must not work. There must not be value in it. There must be no market. There must be no customers, right? Must be too expensive, must be too complicated. And there's a common theme here out in the rest of the world too that's going on all around us every single day. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but look at movies, okay? What's the percentage of original movies right now versus reboots of existing movies? Like, what do you guys even think that ratio is? Like, I'd be interested actually to see what you guys think that ratio is. Like, I think there is 8 reboots for every 2 original movies. There's 8 reboots. I was
going to say 75%, it seems like.
Easy 75%. And why is that? Is that because the world is truly out of good ideas? Have we reached this point of mental evolution where we've thought of everything that could possibly have been thought of before? Like, these are the things that go on in my head when I'm sitting here going over like what I see coming back to me and what I see out there in the world. And I don't think that's true. I don't think we're out of good ideas. I don't think that the mental evolution of humanity has evolved to the point where we've literally thought of everything interesting or beneficial, right? I don't think that. I don't think any of you think that. But now what's happening with me, what happened with me in the past, talking to technology investors, I think is the same thing that's happening today when people go to pitch a new movie idea. They're like, that really does sound like a really good thriller. Man, the bad guy in that really is just vile, and oh man, like it's kind of scary. But why has no one done this one before? Like, shouldn't we just do another Superman movie? Let's do another Superman movie. All right, yeah, that sounds good. And off they go. You got all the typical people involved, and Paramount stands up another reboot of some old comic. I really do think it's the fear of the unknown, and it's the fear of failure, and it's the fear of change that is really doing this. And I think because our world that we live in right now is so centered around fear, that unfortunately, even in the world of innovation and invention in business, I think that overlying, overtoned, crushing weight of that fear is what is actually stunting innovation. And I think the things people are scared of, right? The failure, the change, the something different, the ridicule, the criticism, right? I think all of those things become so strong that it's actually getting to the point where it's socially accepted, suppression of innovation. I really do. I think if everyone's kind of accepted, well, if no one tries anything new and we only do what we know is safe, then no one will ever get their feelings hurt and no one will ever have any failure. and I mean, and I think the point of that is that even though that's what the overtone of the world is right now, you don't need to live in it, right? There's still plenty of room to innovate. And what I would say is that innovation now is more worthwhile than ever because the rewards for being an innovator nowadays are far beyond what they've ever been. And the speed in which you're able to innovate now is also far beyond what it's ever been, right? So I think, to kind of tie all this back before we kind of jump to the next part of this, is that it was really just an open discussion about, isn't it crazy how the world is scared of things that are different and scared of innovation now? It really is. I mean, I think, we talked about the idea of going out to get a loan for something. And if it's something someone's done, it's really easy. Take that concept and look at exactly what we're doing here with Dr. Nix, right? Imagine if back in 2015, between 2015 and 19, instead of doing it the way we did it, I went to a bank and said, hey, here's what we're going to do. We want to make men's grooming products. We want to make them differently. We want to make them all natural. We want to, and the real different part is that we don't want to work with a manufacturer partner. We want to stand up our own facility. We want to make all this stuff in-house, and we want to grow that facility naturally while building an audience for those products. They would have absolutely laughed us out of the building. They'd say, well, you're not a manufacturer. You have no experience in facilities manufacturing. You don't yet have a facility that you can use for that. You'll need to find one and obtain it and get things set up. You'll need commercial kitchen equipment. You'll need a sales team. You'll need a marketing budget. And all of those for something that has no demonstrated track record of success, right? There's no model for what we do. And there's nothing that you can look up of previous success stories or failures to know, what to expect. Now, if we would have gone to that same loan officer in 2015 and said, hey, we got this really cool brand that we're thinking about starting, and here's all the style sheets, here's the brand, here's the marketing material, here's our go-to-market strategy, and here's where all our products are coming from. This company's been doing this for 50 years. They got a track record of making great products. Here's who they white label for. Here's the big brands that use their products, and here's all the retailers they're in. And we're going to take that model and we're going to bring it to a new audience. And this is how we're going to do that. And here's the money we need to do it. That would actually have some legs, right? That person at that bank might say, hey, these guys are going out. They're working under a proven model. We know it works. Yeah, let's send them off and do it. So, you kind of replay all that, and we could have been far beyond where we are today going with that model, but it's not what we wanted to build. And we weren't in a situation where we needed to build something. We wanted to. And when you have that intention, I think that's really what matters. And I think, unfortunately, innovation didn't used to require a platform, right? You didn't used to need to have success to build success. You used to be able to come to market with your new widget that was the better mousetrap, like whatever it might have been. And you could come to market with it, and you'd be the inventor of the new mousetrap that is in every household that gets bought by every hardware store in the world. And you're that guy, right? It's just simply not the case anymore. You almost need a platform to broadcast the message of your innovation. So what is that, right? Like, that's what we're building here. And that's the cool part about these live streams. The cool part about this is because we get to talk about the process as a whole. And there's plenty of you out there that I'm sure have side hustles or have other work, or maybe you do have an endeavor. You're an entrepreneur and you're chasing your own dream, right? Of doing something on your own. That's where these streams get cool, because if you like our products, you like supporting us, then you like hearing some of the backstory, and it's cool. You might be someone out there who is actually trying to go down one of these paths on your own, and some of this information might be useful to you, which is huge. I'd love it if that was the case, and if that is the case, feel free to reach out. And if you're stuck at any step, or if you're trying to do something, if you're trying to launch something and you're having a hard time, again, that's what I like spending my time on when it's not in front of the computer working on other things, is interacting with people who are trying to do something different. There's an old adage that supports that. And then let's look at some of these comments here in a minute. But yeah, I think with the one thing I'll leave this one little section with here is that the reason I like talking about this stuff so much, the reason that I welcome these sorts of things coming in, and no, it's not that I charge for my time to do that or anything else. I learn, I help people succeed. Those people learn and I learn, they learn. It's a great back and forth. And the adage that really kind of pushes that is something I heard a long, long time ago. And it says that below average people talk about people, other people more specifically. Average people talk about things, and above average people talk about ideas. And I think that's a huge thing to really go by. And like, forget talking about other people and what they've done and what they're doing and what their problems are. Like, I don't care about that. And forget talking about other things. I don't really care about things that much, right? Great. Things can be the result of doing cool stuff, and they are great creature comforts. Don't get me wrong. But when you get together with someone and you talk about ideas and you talk about concepts, that is really what makes humans, right? To have the value that we have. We're creative thinkers, right? We can come up with a topic and we can talk all around it and figure out all these different facets of it. And out of those conversations form new ideas, new concepts, and new understanding of things. So it's not just me talking here on the live stream. I'm perfectly happy to have these conversations one-on-one with anyone listening in here. Reach out anytime and we can walk through your problems, or walk through your journey through this that we're talking about here. So
yeah, for sure. And my friend Paul had a great question for me, and it'll be kind of my chance to give my take on this concept of people being scared to change and innovation being lonely. And he says, were you scared to bet on yourself and retire from teaching? I had a lot of fears. And to begin with, I have a freakish self-confidence in myself that I've always had. I was just kind of born with it. I don't attribute it to anything other than that, just how I'm wired. So I already had like kind of a leg up on this. But I will say, I believe what people fear the most with change is what they guarantee themselves to get if they don't make the change. And I'll explain what I mean by that. What do people fear? Being insecure, being down, being in a bad situation, being where let's say you're a man that's providing for your family or a woman that's providing for your family, you fear not being able to give enough for your family. Well, I would say that a lot of people get stuck in situations, they fear making a change, and all that's going to do is guarantee their ultimate fear. For me, if I stuck with the path that I was on, I don't think I was going to be able to give my family the life that I wanted in many different ways. I feared my kids growing up seeing their father doing a job that they didn't like. I knew many people like that when I grew up. I saw my dad come home and not be happy with his job. For example, he worked for Frito-Lay. We got a pet, and I wanted to name the pet Frito. And he said, no, I don't want to come home and want to kick the dog every day. That was an exact quote by him. And so I've witnessed people disliking their job for 30 years. I witnessed people having an influence of their job in a negative way and that creep into their life. I did not want to be that. I feared being that for my kids. And the fear of change is what stops a lot of people from getting out of those situations. Mm-hmm. So for me, the fear of that was way bigger than the fear of trying something new and betting on myself. And think about how much of a bet this was. I had a set salary. I had set benefits, medical benefits. I had a set set pension for when I would have left and would have had the American dream. And this is something I've been talking more and more about. So people that follow me, I've done podcasts, I've done interviews and stuff. So you may have heard this before, but I'm going to continue to talk about it because once you see it from a different angle, it's absolutely flabbergasting to understand how much this fear cages people in, and it seals the outcome that they worry about the most.
That's designed to do that.
100% it is. And I don't even think that's considered like a conspiracy theory or anything more. I think it's just now widely accepted. It's so true. All the way down from me being a teacher and seeing the school system, seeing the economy and the way that these things are structured, and we've seen this in history with every civilization that's ever existed. What do civilizations not want? Chaos. How do you have chaos? Changes, moving, different parts. How do you keep people happy? Stay in your role. Whether it was the caste system in India, whether it was the Romans giving free gladiator games to be able to occupy the minds of the poor that had a horrific life, but let me give them what they called bread and beer, and it kept them happy. And so for me, I definitely had fear. I am the sole income provider for my family entirely. And it's on me now, right? There's no guarantee with anything that I do. Anything I can do can be ended like that. And so that fear is there, absolutely. But I fear the other outcome far more than that. And so being scared of change is real, but I'm more scared of not changing.
Dude, 1,000%. And you should be fearful of the day that you lose that sense of urgency or that worry, I guess, right? We talk about fear being a negative emotion, but it can also be a really positive one, because fear can be a very driving emotion, not just emotion that holds you back. Just like you just said, Dan, like fear was motivating to you. The fear of one outcome motivated you to pursue the other outcome.
Yep.
Right. And so I think that's a really interesting paradigm to talk about. And actually, it's an interesting one I have noted down here to talk about. And that's like early on to my, journey of being an entrepreneur and leaving, a big firm where, just like you say, Dan, I had benefits, I had a guaranteed salary. I'd have to mess up. I could have probably burned down a car in the parking lot and still had a job the next day and been fine with a really good apology.
Same. They couldn't do anything to me as a teacher. Nothing.
Right. Yeah. And so we were safe. Right. And we left our perfect comfort zone and jumped out, not even checking our parachute first, really. I think I spoke to someone like a year or so into starting my first consulting company back in 2014, 15, right around the same time as Dr. Nick's first started. And he says, "Hey man, how's it going? How's self-employed life treating you?" And I was like, pretty good. Money's good. Like all this is good, but I can't get over the gripping fear of failure every day when I wake up and wondering what the hell did I do with my perfectly good, stable job? And what am I going to do today to make sure that my family has a roof over their heads and food on the table? And he's like, perfect. That sounds great. You're doing it just right. And I was like, wait a minute, what part? The being terrified every morning part or the money being good part? And he's like, the being scared every morning part. He's like, if you don't wake up just a little scared every day as an entrepreneur, it means you either already have or are about to fail. Because you should constantly, as an entrepreneur, as anyone who's trying to forge their own path, like you can't get comfortable. You need to constantly be trying to do something that's going to differentiate you from much more available and comfortable options out there.
Yeah. And that fear drives that fear drives action too. If you let it, I never ever in my life have felt like I've done enough. My day ends and I wish I had more time. I'll literally wake up at 1 a.m. and I'll go down in the studio and work because I feel like I didn't do enough. Mm-hmm. And that is always going to be there because of, like you said, like I do need to provide food. I do need to provide a house. I do need to do these things for my young kids with sports and school and all these things. I never, ever, ever feel like, okay, I did it. Like that was, now I can stop. Like that thought doesn't cross my mind. I am always going for the next thing. And again, that can be scary, but I would much rather have that than go to a job where I'm like, oh shoot, look like I'm busy. Let me make sure I look like I'm doing something. I would rather be at the spot of I can't do enough, man. I hope that this is enough. I hope that I'm doing this. So it is absolutely amazing.
It is a weird feeling, though, of never being done. Some people I think out there, like if there's anyone out there aspiring to someday do their own thing or work for themselves or start a business, controlling expectations is a huge part of it. One, setting goals for yourself. There's all sorts of things that go into it, right? That I'm not gonna sit here and berate everybody with, but setting goals, holding yourself accountable, all those things that naturally go into doing something. Setting realistic expectations in addition, outcomes is a huge part of it, because when I did my first consulting group that actually did some big stuff, I thought there was going to be some moment that like around a table of like all my peers, people would be like, "Oh man, Nick, like
You did
you
it.
did, like good on you." Like balloons would fall, and all of a sudden it'd be like freedom for the rest of my life and all this stuff. No, there's no balloon drop moment. And just where I said in the beginning that misery loves companies, be very much prepared for people to be more than willing to talk about what's going wrong, but not very excited to talk about with you about what's going right.
Yeah.
It's just human nature, unfortunately. And there is no mountaintop. There's no summit. There's no peak. There's no flag to put anywhere. There's no balloons going out of the ceiling. There's very rarely a congratulations, right? It's just is the way that it is. If you're doing it for recognition or some kind of acceptance or some kind of a summiting the mountain moment, turn away now, because you're not going to get it.
Correct. And I actually had this discussion with Sam this morning. On top of all that, right? Fall in love with the journey. Fall in love with that fear of not doing enough. Fall in love with what you're doing, but also fall in love with not having a finish line. We talked to a guy today at the gym that we're very close with, and he's got to be in his he's in his 70s, and he's a realtor, and he is so happy and loves his job and is still doing it. We talked to him today about still doing his job, and he is the sharpest, the brightest, the most active, like 75-year-old we've ever met. And we think it's because he sharpens his mind every day with his job. He didn't have this imaginary 59 and a half year mark to retire and leave. And we've seen other people, he just loves it. And he's just absolutely grinding. And it's so cool to see. And if you could, Nick, let's spend a little time on this one right here, and then just kind of explain what you meant by this, because it's been in passing, but misery loves companies. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. And so it's of the idea that, unfortunately, based on human nature, people would like to see you fail more than they'd like to see you succeed in most cases. Like me personally, I don't want to see you fail. I want to see you succeed, and I want to help you succeed. If I can, I will. Dan's the exact same way.
Abundance.
But most people, right, go and think about this situation, right? You go to a big family dinner, or you know what? Even focus on something else for a minute. Imagine if you were already running a small business and you went to like a chamber of commerce meeting, right? And you went to some business networking meeting where you meet with other business owners, and everyone gets to stand around and compare their business cards and talk about how cool they are. If you go into one of those meetings and it's your turn to say something, and it's like, nope, things are great. We're up 100% from last year. Our pipeline looks fantastic. We just brought on these new partners. Things are looking awesome. People aren't going to be like, well, that sounds great. Like, how did you find those new partners? Like, well, that's really good. Like, what do you use for projecting that out next year? Like, that sounds, like this and this and this. No one's going to ask you that stuff. Now, if you walk in and say, oh God, pandemic really kicked our butts. We're still recovering. We're trying to pay back our SBA loans, and stuff's tough. We had to lay some people off, and now the question is, how many people did you have to lay off?
Yeah.
How much did you take out a loan for from the SBA? Did you guys have to move out of your facility? Where are you going to go to now? What are your employees going to do? What'd you do for Christmas bonuses? Bet you had to cut them, didn't you? Right.
Yes.
And you'll get this tornado of conversation happening for anything you mention that's negative. And that's why I say misery loves companies. Like, on top of not wanting to support something new because, one, it's scary, all the reasons we mentioned, all this stuff. The last thing, someone who I'll pull this back, and this is where I maybe some claws will come out. That same person who runs the sub shop, the same person who runs the liquor store, the same person that does whatever other job they're doing because it was safe, it was easy, and there's the rare circumstance out there where there is some guy who isn't doing it like everyone else and does a sub shop a different way or whatever else. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people who wanted to own a business. They looked out there for businesses they could run. They bought one. They work in it. They're an employee in their own business. And chances are they hate it. That guy doesn't want to see you succeed with your new idea. He was too scared to go do his new idea. Someone told him it wasn't going to work. Someone told him someone else was going to do it. Someone told him that someone else was going to steal his idea if he did it, unless he patented it and he didn't have the money to pursue it. Those are the people who told you that. And someone told that guy that. And that guy is very much more satisfied to listen to your problems than he is your successes. And that's why I say misery loves companies, because they are, you are more often going to get your failures highlighted and your successes suppressed because, again, fear, jealousy, all those negative human emotions that no one wants to think about. Like that's
100%.
That's what controls it.
And to kind of piggyback off Jill's comment right here, Jill, if anybody in the world understands it's me, I get those comments. Okay, and let me break it down too like this, because I think this is a really important one.
That's
My
huge.
new career on surface level is a content creator. That's what I do. I create content, whether it's marketing for Dr. Nick's, whether it's YouTube videos for my channel, whether it's any aspect. I create content. In a lot of people's eyes, that's a super sexy job. That's a really, I've wanted to be an influencer. Must be nice, right?
It's because they think you're this kind of influencer. Check out the new Hilton in Dubai, guys. Like,
yes. And that phrase I've heard so many times. And I do believe the best in the world at any and everything make it look easy. And that's okay, right? When you work hard behind the scenes, Jill, it's okay that not everybody sees that. When there's literally 70 levels to everything that I do, it's okay that no one sees that. I would encourage anybody that has that thought to not feel the need to explain it, to not feel the need for them to have to understand it. It's okay that they don't. And it is that same concept is just what you were talking about. It's the idea that their insecurities drive their vision. It always looks prettier on the other side. And if it's something that they feel like this person's doing well, they have to categorize it in their brain on why it's going well. And the thing that they categorize is never hard work. It's never natural talent. It's never the sauce that actually goes into it. It's all the other things. I've had people that have reached out to me to get feedback on YouTube. And when I give them the feedback, they come back with, well, it must be nice to have 65,000 subscribers. And like, that's such a minimalized way to look at it. That's such an insulting viewpoint. But I've come to a place where I'm okay with that. I don't need to convince them to know what I do, because deep down, they know there's more to it. They actually know that.
Oh, of course they do. That's why they're not doing it.
Yeah.
Yep. And and people think must be nice. Like I'm gonna air some interesting laundry here, and I'm about to hear something get thrown at my door from downstairs. When we decided a few years back to really, really, really grow Dr. Next beyond where it is, and we want to see it succeed. We want to see it grow. We want to be able to reinvest. Jill and I, namely Jill, took the decision of no longer taking a paycheck for a while until we hit certain benchmarks. And we're taking what would have been paycheck money. We're reinvesting that back into the company, and we're reinvesting that back into our processes, our products, our facility, and everything that we need to make sure that this can sustain the growth that we want to see and do it organically. And here was Jill last weekend. Our son Jack brought home a cold. Jill got sick. Everyone was sick. There was things that needed to happen here in the office, and Jill was really not feeling good this past Friday. Saturday woke up rough. Where was Jill on Saturday and Sunday working without getting paid technically? Right here, she was here. She was here for, I think, 6 hours one day and 4 hours another day, getting things ready to make sure we could keep up with demand and make sure we could get everyone's orders out on time and everything else. And don't worry, she wasn't touching product or packing anyone's stuff while she was sick. She'll want me to point that out. But here, the whole must be nice comment. Yeah, it must be nice, right? You get to go to work at 8 a.m, come home at 4. Your job is done. You don't have to think about it the next day, answer any emails while you're home. You get to stay home when you're sick, get paid oftentimes when you're homesick, and not have any responsibilities. Now, that same person that says, oh, it must be nice, you think that person, without someone incenting them to do it monetarily, is going to get off the couch when they're sick with a head full of Dayquil and come into the office and work their ass off in 30-degree weather? I don't think so. Right? It takes drive. And so that must be nice thing. Yeah. You know what? I'll take it. It must be nice. And it is nice to have the drive to do things that other people aren't willing to do.
Yep.
That's it.
There's no clocking out in this kind of world. And
No.
there's a lot of people in here that know me very well and know that that's actually life, that there's no clocking out. If I'm in Florida on vacation, if I'm here, if I'm sick, there's no clocking out. And guess what? I don't want to. Like, it's
No.
not like me saying, hey, pat me on the back, I do all this. It's just a different mindset and just a different life. And when you say it must be nice, it is. I
Yeah.
greatly like my life better than when I was teaching. So
It's
yes,
a great way to live.
100%. And I think that's a good time to kind of to shift into the last topic, as we got about 10 minutes left here.
Mm-hmm.
And that we wanted to end on like saying all these challenges, all these things that come up. Innovation is lonely, but there is a huge concept of risk versus reward. And my initial lead in on this, risk versus reward. With teaching, I had very small risk, right? I had very small risk. There are risks, right? There's actual physical risk now in teaching, right? We understand that. I have the risk of some kind of lawsuits here or there, but if you stay under the radar with teaching, you are not going to have much risk. But the ceiling is literally capped. There is only so far you can go with teaching in terms of providing for your family. There is small risk, but a small ceiling. With this, you take more risk, but there is no ceiling. There is no ceiling. You can't tell me how big Dr. Nick's could be because we don't know. There's not a cap on that. You can't tell me how big the YouTube channel or even like media empire that I'm hoping to build is going to be because we don't know what the future looks like. We know that network cable is going away. We know that network news is going away and the numbers support that. Who knows what will happen? Maybe there will be a dancy bearded media empire where we have a stream every day, where we have videos on different topics. That reward is vast and huge and possible, but wasn't going to be possible unless there was risk.
Right. I mean, that's it, man. I mean, it's an easy risk reward for me. Like I've done a lot of day trading, right? And that's where I look to enter trades. It's like, okay, well, what's my risk? I don't look like, for example, when you're day trading, you're trading stocks. You don't look at a trade that you're about to open and figure out how much money you can make on that trade. You figure out what's the amount of money I'm willing to lose on this trade. Right. And in the opposite direction, is the upside worth that risk? And you enter your trades based on what you have to lose, not what you have to gain. It's the only way that you can do that successfully.
Correct. It's like
and that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do here, right? And it's in the risk and reward concept was early on in my decision to come out and on my own. Is that I have in my world, I do have a very marketable skill that I can always fall back on, right? I could go to any threat hunting cybersecurity firm in the world. If all of our businesses went away, and I could make, really, really good money working for someone else as a network security architect, a penetration tester, a red teams ops, whatever, things like that, right? Or go take over the technology side of someone's business and be their CTO and work for another CEO and drive his vision, right? I could always fall back on that. So I knew that's kind of like what my risk was. And in my case, wasn't terrible. At the same time, though, the reward, that's actually the side that enticed me on this one, is that the reward was that I got to, and let's forget the monetary reward side of it for a minute, right? Being as the various things I have are in various stages of growth, it's definitely not the monetary benefit that has me doing any of this. There's other benefits, right? And the benefits are you get to hold yourself accountable. You get to be your own boss, right? You get to know that the decisions that you make directly impact what you do every day. You don't have this huge ship to turn and change people's minds, right? You get to have autonomy. Like there's so many of these rewards and benefits out there. And I think a lot of people really get hung up on just the dollars and cents side of risk reward.
Yep.
And it's especially now more than ever, the world is very accepting of a flexible way to interact and to run a business.
Yeah.
You can be an individual. You don't even need to have this big corporate entity behind you, right?
For sure.
Anyone has the tools they need by being on this stream. Anyone that's on here is proving they have the tools they need to do anything they want to do, right? They have a computer, they have eyes, they have ears, and they have fingers that can type. And boom, there's your 2022 toolkit for success with a little bit of ambition added in behind it,
Yeah. And I think piggybacking off that, I think the ultimate reward is the new age or my American dream. the new American dream, my American dream. The American dream before was having a secure life, providing for your family, retiring, and enjoying that. I don't consider that the American dream anymore. I don't consider that my dream. I believe that the American dream has always been and should always be about independence. That's what this is about.
Yeah.
And when you pursue the risk versus reward, the ultimate reward is your independence. To be able to do what you want, when you want to, and how beautiful is it that you're choosing, and if you want to, is to work, is to get stuff done, is to build, is to create this stuff. Show me a teacher that has the independence to do this stuff outside of their contract hours that actually wants to. Show me a factory worker that would say, you know what, I'm going to choose to spend my free time to go in. The real dream, the real reward is that independence, and it's feeling valued, and it's feeling like you're doing something great. And I'll give you just one last example. In teaching, we would have staff meetings every other Tuesday, and it was so disrespectful. It was such a waste of my time. We had one of the last ones, literally no agenda, and they said you have to stay to 4:15 to meet your contractual needs. As compared to Nick and I had a meeting for over an hour before this stream, and we didn't even have enough time. We just barely got through all the stuff, and we were just firing, and we had concepts of things that we wanted to go over. Didn't know what the end result was going to be, but we got there, and it was amazing. It was no wasted time. It was no fluff. It was no contractual, you got to be here. It was because we wanted to. It was because it was really, really valuable to what we're doing, and we enjoy that. That energizes us. That makes us feel good. So for me, the ultimate reward is independence.
Independence. And I guess if I had to sum this up today, I do want to get to some of these comments before we go today too. And that if I had to close on something, is that yes, innovation is lonely, and we're focusing on people who are trying to do, some of their own thing. The ultimate goal of being an innovator is to have freedom and to have independence, right? The ultimate goal of doing any of this is to have independence, freedom, and happiness. It's those three things. What do we all need, right? Independence, freedom, and happiness, and feel like we're valued, right? I am not here to say that if you work for someone else that you are not pursuing things the way you should.
Right.
I'm not here to say that there's no possible way to have these three things if you work for somebody else.
Absolutely.
In 2022, especially, it is more prominent now than ever that jobs are, careers as a whole are becoming more rewarding and more flexible, and they're allowing for more autonomy and for more freedom and independence. People working remotely and people losing the idea of this inside the walls 9 to 5. And so if you have one of those that allows you to have this autonomy and you're able to be creative and you're happy and you feel secured and valued and independent and like your mind is free, I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. I just want to make sure that everyone 1000% knows that, because talking about one side, I want to make sure that I'm not disparaging another, right?
Correct.
And I think we want to be inclusive. And but this is, again, just personal stories, right? This is Dan's personal story. This is my personal story, in the hopes that it'll help motivate somebody, or maybe it'll help you just appreciate, like, wow, that's where they came from. I'm so glad that's not where I came from. I love where I am, and I'm happy, and I get to be creative and think, and I have independence, and I'm appreciated. Like, more power to you. This is not geared towards talking you out of that situation at all. Thankfully, or unfortunately, not everyone's so fortunate, right? And it's helping people out of a bad one is what we want to do.
Yeah, we're just sharing our experiences here, shedding some light, and maybe it's just a seed that gets planted for 5, 10, 15 years down the road.
That's it.
So yeah, absolutely no judgment. Literally, and if you guys know Nick and I, that's real. There is no judgment there, that we understand every situation thoroughly. We really, really do. So yeah, great point. Great point.
I mean, to leave it with that, I think someone else said something about fear a little bit ago. Yeah. What is it? Success is not final and failure is not fatal, right?
Yep.
That just because you succeed once, you need to keep succeeding over and over and over again, unfortunately and fortunately. But just because you failed once doesn't mean that's your destiny either, right? If you succeed, you need to keep doing it. If you fail, you need to stop doing that and start succeeding, right? Doesn't mean you can't.
Right.
But I see some people have to dip, and I do see a couple of questions I want to pop up, like Bearded King. Do you sometimes do maintenance trims periodically? In some areas, I used to do stuff here on the side on the connectors, and finally those started playing along where they're actually they're now curving. I actually learned from Dan years ago at this point, it's not so much the trimming here that keeps things under control. It's the styling. It is. He was 1000% right. You let these connectors come out and let them naturally come down. That's going to give that sharp line you want, not cutting up this way and up that way. Yep. That does not give you that. So yeah, there are a couple areas I do still trim though. Like when I get some really little wispy guys down here, I'll trim my dead ends off. I trim those. Obviously, cheeks, and mainly my main point of trimming is sideburns. Like having good guards on some good trimmers where you can change your progression and kind of fade up to a natural line instead of having that like stark line at the top. Like, sideburns, split ends, things like that. Aside from that though, no, I go with the whole, I'm wanting to see where this thing goes. I'm going for length. So I'm solely focused primarily on styling to keep what I want, not trimming.
For sure. Yep. Love that. All right, guys. Hey, we have our hour here. We hope you guys enjoyed that. We hope you related to it. We hope you put something in that back pocket or in one of the files that's in your brain, and maybe it'll be there one day to pull out again. And also keep in mind, Nick threw that open invitation for anybody to reach out to him anytime, even to go over these individual stories. You want to talk about your journey, your fears? Nick welcomes it. He put it out there, and he really means it. So
shoot me an email. I will shoot you a meeting invite.
There you go, guys. And again, this company is ran by people. This company is ran by passionate humans. Reach out. Never hesitate. I promise you they will welcome it with open arms. I get to see the behind-the-scenes discussions. I get to see the meetings. You guys would be very proud of how it goes down. So, Nick, with that, go ahead and take it away.
Oh, man. Happy holidays. The next time I see all of you guys, I will be in between bites of leftover ham sandwiches. And I'm sure at least 3 pounds heavier from Jill's awesome Christmas cookies. So happy holidays to everybody. Dan, thanks as always, man. This has been fantastic. Again, I hope today was motivating. I hope it was inspirational, or maybe in some ways just confirmational that you see what other people are doing and you get to see some perspective. So thanks for hanging out. We'll see you again next week. Thank you.